As if deporting good, hardworking immigrants wasn't enough. Revoking temporary protective status for 500,000 Venezuelans wasn't enough.
This is a bad idea, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea.
Maybe R.F. Kennedy Jr. can fix that.
But there's
Imagine a group of wealthy TV hosts lounging in a fancy New York studio, sipping lattes, and throwing a dramatic fit over avocados. Yes, you heard that right. On a recent episode of The View, the hosts lost their minds over Trump's proposed tariffs on Mexican imports, complaining that it would make their guacamole and margaritas more expensive.
These are the people who vote with us in the international organizations. These are the people who send soldiers to go to war with us when we are fighting, in the Middle East, when we're fighting any sort of war. Canada sends its soldiers. These are the people that have been by us time and time again, that send their pilots and their planes to help us put out our fires, literally and figuratively. These are our friends, and we are treating them like trash. We are bullying them. And it's as if, I look at this thing in Mexico and I'm thinking, okay, as if deporting good, hardworking immigrants wasn't enough. As if emboldening the racial profiling and bigotry against Latinos wasn't enough. As if revoking temporary protective status for 500,000 Venezuelans wasn't enough. As if bullying Panama wasn't enough. Now he's going to tax our tequila and avocados?
Yeah. Instead of discussing jobs, the economy, or national security, their main concern was their pricey brunch. The hypocrisy was on full display. But that was just the beginning. In today's episode, we're breaking down The View's latest meltdown, exposing the facts they conveniently ignored, and revisiting the shocking moment when Sunny Hostin accidentally praised RFK Jr., only to be booed by their own audience. This is going to be entertaining. These hosts love to paint themselves as defenders of the average American, yet their biggest worry seems to be the price of premium tequila and avocados. Meanwhile, they completely overlook the broader economic impact of these tariffs on American industries. The drama kicked off when Trump announced his plan to impose tariffs on Mexican imports. Almost instantly, Ana Navarro, who never misses a chance to remind everyone she's a Republican while attacking actual Republican policies, went into full meltdown mode. Her outrage? That her avocados might cost more. Not a word about the American workers these tariffs are designed to protect or the economic leverage they could provide in future trade negotiations. No, her main concern was brunch. Whoopi Goldberg quickly jumped in, repeating the same old argument that tariffs will raise costs for Americans. What they conveniently ignored is that these tariffs aim to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains, something they themselves complained about during COVID when shortages were rampant. But with The View, anything Trump does is automatically bad, even when it aligns with positions they've supported before. Tariffs aren't just about punishing other countries. They're a tool used worldwide to protect domestic industries and jobs. The goal is to encourage companies to manufacture goods within the U.S., creating more jobs, boosting local economies, and strengthening economic stability.
Even the conservative media is warning about the price Americans are going to pay for this. So, everybody say, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea.
And what makes America the most powerful nation on earth is that we have friends and allies. And it's because we engage in international trade, we don't bully our friends, we show up and give international aid. And if we stop doing that, which is what I feel like Trump is leaning into, I'm not saying that that's fully what he's doing yet, we're ceding our role of global superpower to China because they will step in, they will show up, and they will be friends to the people that we're giving.
But instead of discussing any of this, the hosts fixated on their overpriced avocados and margaritas. Here's the irony. Many economists argue that targeted tariffs like the ones Trump proposed could actually help lower inflation in the long run by reducing reliance on foreign imports. Yet The View didn't even acknowledge this possibility. Instead, they acted like the world was ending because they might have to pay a few extra cents for luxury groceries. And if the hypocrisy over tariffs was enough, things got even funnier when Sunny Hostin, in a rare moment of honesty, seemed to praise RFK Jr., while ranting about Trump.
And I'll just say, Mexico, Canada, and China together accounted for more than 40% of total U.S. imports last year. But more importantly, Canada and Mexico are the top buyers of U.S. exports in more than 72% of all export. Let's say it's your coffee, you have a coffee store and you're going to sell a cup of coffee and your coffee is $5. We know how expensive coffee is, right? You sell coffee for $5. Now the coffee beans coming in from Mexico are now $5 more. You think if I own that shop, I'm going to eat that $5? No. Your cup of coffee just costs $10. Well, and that's the deal.
She casually mentioned that at least RFK Jr. has integrity on certain issues. The audience's reaction was immediate. Some clapped, but a clear portion booed her. Realizing her mistake, Sunny backpedaled so fast you'd think she was training for the Olympics. This moment perfectly showcased the echo chamber of the View. The second one of them strays even slightly from the approved anti-Trump, pro-Biden narrative. They're forced to walk it back. It's groupthink at its finest, and it's fascinating to watch in real time. The hypocrisy isn't just political, it's personal. These same hosts who constantly talk about wealth inequality and fighting for the little guy are sitting in a multi-million-dollar studio, complaining about paying a little more for imported goods. The disconnect is mind-blowing. They cheered on Biden's economic policies, even as inflation soared and Americans struggled to afford basic necessities. But the moment Trump suggests something that could benefit the economy in the long run, they suddenly turn into financial experts, predicting disaster. One of the most telling moments of this episode was the audience's reaction.
There is a reason people don't really take a lot of our things that we export, because the quality of what we put out has not always been the best. When you can talk about making American and building American, but that also requires that we make big changes as to how we do things.
Maybe RF Kennedy Jr. can fix that.
But
Usually, the View's crowd claps along no matter how ridiculous the host's takes are. But this time, the boos directed at Sunny Hostin were impossible to ignore. Even Joy Behar looked shocked. This signals something bigger. The mainstream liberal media is starting to lose its grip on its audience. More people are seeing through the act and aren't afraid to push back. If even the View's carefully selected studio audience is willing to boo one of their own, imagine what the rest of America is thinking. This whole meltdown over Trump's tariffs and RFK Jr. reveals something important about today's media landscape. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe, and drop a comment. Do you think the View's influence is fading, or are they still as powerful as ever? Let's discuss.